So, what in the world could surviving on Mars teach us about one of the most regulated industries right here on Earth? Well, today we're diving into the Martian method, and it's a pretty surprising survival guide for pharma quality that's going to take us from the red planet straight into the heart of drug manufacturing.
You know, the best lessons, they don't always come from a textbook, right? We can get buried in standard operating procedures and regulatory guidelines, but it's usually a really compelling story that makes a critical idea stick.
So really, what can a stranded astronaut teach us about pharma quality? Well, it turns out the exact mindset you need to survive all alone on Mars, it's basically a mirror image of the principles that drive world-class quality systems. Let's break it down.
Okay, so first, let's set the scene. Being stranded on Mars, that's not just a bad day at the office. It is the ultimate, unthinkable problem. It's a scenario where literally everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. The situation just feels completely hopeless.
And this is a perfect parallel to facing a critical manufacturing deviation in pharma. You know, that moment when a process just goes off the rails, like a batch contamination or a huge system failure. The stakes are just enormous. We're talking patient safety, company reputation. The pressure is on. And that feeling, it's universal. Where do you even begin?
And this is where the Martian survival method gives us a path forward. See, Mark Watney's survival wasn't some kind of magic. It was a methodical, step-by-step process, and it happens to be a perfect blueprint for the kind of continuous improvement that really defines excellence in the pharmaceutical world.
So, principle number one, and you could argue this is the most important one. You have to start with data. When Watney realized he was alone, his first instinct wasn't to panic. Nope, it was to take inventory. He assessed his whole situation with cold, hard facts.
Think about it. The very first thing Watney does is calculate his food supply. He gets the hard numbers. This is exactly what high-performing pharma teams do when a problem pops up. Instead of just guessing or going with a gut feeling, they dive straight into the data. They look at process performance, they check the quality metrics, anything to understand the true state of the system.
So what does this actually look like in our world? Well, it means you're rigorously tracking your deviations in your CAPAs. That's your plan for corrective and preventative actions. It's about using those quality metrics to proactively make things better, not just react when things break. The real shift is going from, I think the problem is, to the data shows us that.
And this whole data-first approach leads us right into our second principle. Documentation is survival. I mean, a huge part of the movie is just watching Watney meticulously record everything in his video logs, every single calculation, every experiment, every win, and yup, every failure.
This totally reframes what documentation is all about, doesn't it? In our industry, it's not just about compliance or ticking some box. It's about preserving knowledge. It's what gives us traceability, it's what makes a real investigation possible, and at the end of the day, it's what protects patients by making sure everything is consistent batch after batch. Which brings us to our third principle. Watney absolutely had to innovate to survive. I mean, he had to grow potatoes on Mars, but he didn't just toss some seeds in the dirt and cross his fingers. His approach was a masterclass in controlled experimentation. And that process, it's a perfect mirror for how we do process optimization in pharma. It's not about making random changes, it's a really disciplined cycle. First, you evaluate the risk. Then you test it scientifically. You document all the outcomes, and only then do you implement it responsibly. That's controlled innovation, not uncontrolled chaos.
But here's the thing. Watney's individual, data-driven genius could only get him so far. And for a guy who is totally alone, the story is actually all about teamwork. His survival, in the end, depended on a massive collaborative effort from all the teams back on Earth.
And it's the exact same way with continuous improvement. It is never ever the job of just one department. Quality assurance can't improve a process all by themselves. They need manufacturing to execute it, who in turn rely on engineering to come up with solutions, all while regulatory makes sure the standards are met. It's all connected. It's a shared responsibility.
So how do these teams actually pull it off? It's not about one giant leap. It's all about understanding that small, steady improvements, that's what leads to those huge outcomes over time.
I mean, just look at Watney's journey. He solved one problem at a time. First, water. Okay, check. Then food. Check. Then communication. Each little win built on the one before it, creating this resilient system that eventually led to his escape. That is exactly how strong quality systems are built. One procedure update, one process refinement, one better control at a time.
So when you put all these principles together, the data, the documentation, the collaboration, and those small improvements, they're all pointing to one core idea. It's not just about the things you do, it's about how you think about every challenge.
And that is the quality mindset. It's a culture where people stay calm under pressure, they trust the science and the data, they document everything meticulously, and they see failures as a chance to learn. And look, these aren't some new age ideas. They are literally the foundation of good manufacturing practices, our GMPs, and the frameworks like ICH-Q10 that define a modern quality culture.
So let's bring this all back down to earth, back to our own work. Every big manufacturing challenge, every complicated deviation, every process gap, every single one of those is our Martian moment. We might not be stranded on another planet, but the approach to solving the problem is universal. First, you understand the situation with facts. You use that data to guide your decisions. You document everything clearly. And then you improve, step by methodical step.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is your Martian moment right now? What's that one challenge you're facing that just seems completely insurmountable? And how are you going to use this data-driven, documented, step-by-step mindset to engineer your own survival and your own success?